On a mist-covered morning in March of 1803, fishermen working along Japan's eastern shores noticed something unusual drifting through the waves. At first, it didn't resemble any known boat. Instead, it appeared to be a beautifully detailed object, more like a ceremonial artifact than a seaworthy vessel. Driven by curiosity, they pulled the mysterious item onto land. It was there, on a secluded stretch of beach, that one of Japan's most enduring and unexplained mysteries began to unravel. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear is no ordinary tale. But before we dive in, make sure to hit like and subscribe. You might just find your luck changing by the end of this video. Music fades in. The craft was modest in size, roughly 18 feet in length and 11 feet in height, much smaller than the era's typical merchant ships or naval vessels. Its foundation was forged from metal, while its upper portion was fashioned from polished lacquered wood. Transparent glass panels formed a ring around its body, creating a design that was both artistic and intricate, far beyond anything the villagers had ever seen. It looked less like a vehicle and more like a deliberate creation, one built with precision and purpose. To their astonishment, a woman emerged from within. She was about 5 feet tall, with skin so pale it nearly glowed beneath the morning sun. Her hair was a deep crimson, resembling dried blood. Even more baffling, she spoke in a language no one could recognize. It wasn't any Japanese dialect, nor did it sound like the languages spoken by the Dutch or Portuguese traders who sometimes visited Nagasaki. Throughout the encounter, the mysterious woman clung tightly to a wooden box, about 2 feet in length. Inside the strange craft were containers of water, a small stash of dried food, and unfamiliar symbols engraved into the wooden walls. Everything suggested she had been carefully outfitted for a voyage, though clearly not one with a planned destination. The villagers were left in stunned silence. They had never encountered anyone like her before. And in a country ruled by strict order and protocol, the sudden arrival of a foreign woman inside such a fantastical vessel brought with it an unsettling blend of awe and fear. As more townspeople gathered to stare at the odd scene, torn between reverence and suspicion, the woman remained seated, silently guarding her wooden box. Eventually, an elderly villager stepped forward, a man who had lived his entire life along that coast. He studied the woman quietly, then spoke in a hushed voice. He recalled a tale from long ago, an old story passed down through generations. It spoke of a foreign princess who refused an arranged marriage in pursuit of true love. Her beloved was executed, and she, in turn, was banished to sea. According to legend, the box she held so protectively might contain the severed head of that lost lover. The moment those words left his lips, a shiver rippled through the crowd. It was as if a myth had stepped off the page and taken physical form in front of them. The day dragged on in uneasy silence. No one knew what action to take. She had committed no crime, yet they couldn't welcome her as a guest either. Eventually, the village elders met in secret, weighing their options. They knew they were trapped in a dangerous situation. At the time, Japan was under the Sakoku policy, a rigid and unforgiving isolationist law. Even the smallest contact with foreigners was illegal. If the central government discovered that this quiet fishing village had sheltered a foreign woman, the repercussions could be devastating. The entire village could be wiped from maps, their names lost to history, serving as a warning to others. One elder, he spoke with quiet gravity. If this woman was truly destined to drift endlessly on the sea, then returning her to the waves would be the most merciful choice. With that, the villagers reached their decision to send her and her vessel back into the ocean. The craft, now referred to as Utsuro-Bune, meaning the hollow ship, was carefully guided into the surf. The mysterious woman stayed just as she had been found, sitting silently, tightly holding onto her wooden box. Slowly, the current pulled the vessel away until it disappeared beyond the horizon, as though she had never existed at all. Most tales like this eventually vanish into silence, swallowed by time like ships lost to the sea. But what makes the legend of the woman and the Utsuro-Bune extraordinary is that it didn't dissolve into forgotten folklore. It was meticulously recorded in historical archives from the Edo period of Japan, scattered throughout 19th century manuscripts. Weathered by time but preserved, this strange event was described in multiple accounts: Oshuzaki, Tonshosetsu, and Hairi Kish. Each tells the story with slight differences, as if the legend had come ashore in many places and been retold in many voices. Still, the core elements remain eerily consistent. The unusual, circular boat, the red hair, pale-skinned woman, the unknown language, and the box no one was permitted to open. But the story didn't end with these texts. Scholars in 19th century Japan began asking difficult questions we still haven't answered. Where had the ship come from? Who could have constructed such a vessel? And why did it arrive in a country that was, at the time, completely closed to the outside world under the policy of Sakoku? Though the documents never explicitly revealed the woman's origins, some modern researchers noted curious parallels between her appearance and styles once popular in a distant northern empire, Russia, particularly in the years following the reign of Catherine the Great. When these descriptions were compared with journals from Dutch traders who had encountered Russians, a fascinating possibility began to emerge. Could the woman have been Russian, or at least from a Eurasian society where royal courts stood against the snowy backdrop of revolution? One of the earliest to propose this theory was Kokushi Debakin, a Japanese scholar in the early 1800s. He had thoroughly examined all known Utsuro-Bune accounts and cross-referenced them with the experiences of a Japanese sailor named Dai Kaikyo, who had shipwrecked and spent 10 years in Russia, from 1782 to 1792. Kaikyo spoke of Russian women with fiery red hair, draped in thick white fur coats, and writing in curved, flowing letters, symbols unlike anything known in Eastern languages. According to him, the script resembled the mysterious markings etched into the interior walls of the Utsuro-Bune. Yet these characters didn't match Cyrillic or any known writing system on Earth. While the theory of a Russian origin has sparked long-standing debate, some believe the truth lies not beyond Japan's borders, but deep within its own legends. Buried in the nation's ancient folklore is a rarely told tale that bears striking similarities. It concerns the founding of the Kono clan, a real noble family that once ruled parts of Shikoku. According to ancient records, in the 7th century, a fisherman rescued a young girl, just 13 years old, found floating alone in a hollow boat. She claimed to be the daughter of a Chinese emperor, driven into exile by a cruel stepmother. Taken in by locals from Iyo province, she eventually married a regional prince, and their son became the founder of the Kono clan. While long dismissed as mere legend, later scholars uncovered faint genealogical records and faded illustrations depicting a round vessel and a girl with distinctly non-Japanese features. Most astonishing of all, this story was said to have occurred almost 1,000 years before the Utsuro-Bune was ever seen. And yet, there are aspects of the Utsuro-Bune story that resist any historical or cultural explanation. Because if this really was a ship, it was unlike any other craft known to human civilization at the time. And if this was a woman, she bore no resemblance to any figure from Edo period archetypes. Historical texts describe the Utsuro-Bune with remarkable precision. A base of dark polished metal, an upper half of lacquered wood, and a circular array of transparent glass panels assembled so seamlessly they seemed like a lens gazing out at the world. There were no rudders, no oars, No signs it was ever meant to be steered. And although the phrase unidentified flying object hadn't yet entered our vocabulary, illustrations from early 19th century scrolls show the vessel as a near-perfect match to what we now call a flying saucer. Thus, a new theory quietly took shape. Perhaps this ship didn't arrive from a foreign land, but from a different planet altogether. More than 200 years have passed since the Utsuro-Bune slipped away from Japan's coast. No one knows what became of the woman or her strange craft. Yet, her story lingers, not quite as confirmed history, nor as pure legend. It survives as something in between. A whisper from the edge of human understanding, where logic fails and only intuition dares to interpret. So what do you believe? Was she an exiled princess? A visitor from a forgotten kingdom? Or could she have been a traveler from the stars, arriving centuries before we even had a name for such things? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how you interpret the mystery of the hollow ship. Thank you for watching until the end. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss the next unexplained mystery we explore.